Rory lies a lot.
Says in a lot.
Rory tells a lot of lies. These things have to be rooted in some type of fact. So I'm not talking about podcast banter or gesturing. I'm talking about a lie. This can be proven non-factual. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about your opinion of me. I'm not talking about my opinion of him. I'm talking about lies that can be proven to be lies, not conjecture. And there's just like another really silly, dumb lie, right? Like there's a pattern here with this type of shit. And I'm not speaking to anything he said to y'all because I don't know anything about that. I looked him in his eyes with the same question when all of this was going on. And whatever he said to me, I thought, oh, this is a crock of bull. This is a crock of. So you just know when something is a crock. This is such a mundane thing to even go back and forth about, like the sleepers. Like it don't really matter in the grand scheme of
I
things.
think it's not mundane. It does matter, as it is a kind of co-opting of the history that both of you two men have done to try to kind of gain favor or public. I'm not saying you did that, but that small thing is a big thing because it speaks to kind of the genesis of the show and might actually bleed over into other aspects of the history of the Joe Budden podcast. So that's
Oh,
why.
okay, well, I'm glad that you expressed why that could be being said, because boy, was I confused. Boy, I was confused. But yes, if that happens again, we're correcting the record. Rory has 0% of anything to do with the sleeper segment, outside of saying, "Yeah, I think that's a great idea."
Wait, how about the blackball segment? You don't feel like you can call your friends and be like, "Hey, let Rory come on."
Is that a real question?
Yeah, that's a real question. I feel like
No.
he was really hurt by like I think he brought up Tank. He said Tank wouldn't have him on his podcast to discuss R&B.
You think I spoke to Tank and said something about not letting Rory on his podcast?
I
It's
don't think
kind of
you
like
did.
a Charlemagne move where he'll say like, "I didn't do this," but it's like people proactively do things
Okay,
for him.
wait. All right, wait. Hold up. Because he does other. So let me correct the record. I'm not allowing that. Not only have I not communicated that to Tank, I don't think anybody that I know has had any conversation with Tank about anything having to do with anybody or guests or any of that. No, if Tank is doing that, that's on Tank's own free will. That's not to gain any favor. That's not, he's not doing me a solid. That gains me nothing. I have no stock in the betterment of Rory's music career. Like, it's not my business. It's such a dumb
I'm with
lie
Joe.
to even tell. Like, it's just silly. You don't gain anything in it. There's no truth in it. There's no merit in it. You have to know that it could be proven non-factual.
In
That's
locations.
where you be going off base with your theories on your little videos. Anytime you try to jump into my brain is where you lose. My brain is a wacky place. You'll never find the logic in there.
The
Danny,
smoke, it was
Facts.
Danny,
imaginary.
you
Facts.
lucky. You are very lucky. I was at dinner during your last spaces, buddy.
What happened?
Oh
You
my
were not going to
God.
come on stage when Rory was on
God,
stage.
Oh,
God,
we would have loved to
Yo,
have you
Joe,
God
come up.
save
Joe,
Wait,
Boy,
y'all.
Joe's always.
I'm
you left
telling
out
y'all.
when you saw Rory
This is from,
in the
listen,
I
this is
audience,
think
from
bro.
Rory was
me to
lying.
y'all.
You left out
I'm
because Rory
telling
Everybody,
wasn't
y'all.
on
quiet,
the
quiet,
stage.
quiet. Let
Stop.
Joe speak. Let
I'm
Joe
trying
speak.
to tell
One voice.
y'all something. Listen, I know there's some Rory Vengers in here. I'm trying to tell y'all something from me to you, all of you. Thank Almighty heavens above that I was at dinner during that spaces. I almost went to get my headphones and said F it, but I was at a dinner. It was an important one. If God ever throws that fastball again, it's happening. I'm coming up there just to be. I'm gonna stay on mute. I'm gonna respect y'all space.
would you
Oh
be
yeah, for
quiet?
sure, for sure. We got to correct the record.
So, Joe, for clarity, the other day during the spaces, you were at a restaurant on your phone in the spaces without your headphones.
It was me and Mo at the New York Times #1 rated restaurant in New York City, having a blast. Having a blast at Tatiana, Mo, and I. Mo is understanding enough to it's not like I was, she know I got to put the phone up to get to what I'm getting to. It's not like that rude, but it is dinner, so you don't want to stay in this restaurant with the phone to your ear. And my driver was far, so the headphones was far. It was a mess. So I was just like, this is God telling me not today.
Mo really the homie, huh?
Of course.
Joe Budden calls Rory a liar for saying he created sleepers and says that he denies blackballing Rory from the industry. That's right. What you just heard was an actual live recording from December where Joe Budden was on this warpath to clarify what Rory was saying about his involvement in the creative wing of the Joe Budden podcast. Now, what was that creative wing? Well, it was when Rory said that he created Sleepers. Sleepers is a segment where the Joe Budden podcast plays some songs that maybe people haven't heard of. And yeah, Rory said he came up with that segment, but Joe Budden, being angry, decided to clear the air and said that it was indeed him who made the segment. Now, a lot of people might be like, well, why does this matter? I think it matters because it's a representation of both men trying desperately to seize the narrative of who created things on the Joe Budden podcast, who was the person that helped establish the show, and whether we like to know it or not. I mean, I think Rory contends with Joe about how much he has impacted the show. These are things like, maybe Joe Budden not being popular at the time and it being Rory that helped establish his good name again, as well as Maul. Another thing Joe Budden addressed was the notion that Tank did not have Rory on his podcast to promote his album because, it was a blackball situation. For those of you that don't know, Rory was on a space and he was saying that, he wanted to be on Tank's R&B Money, I think that's what it's called, podcast in order to promote his album, but Tank never followed through or wasn't interested in having Rory on the podcast. Now, Joe says he didn't make that call, that it was strictly a Tank call. And I don't know if this is necessarily a blackball situation, but what I do know is sometimes a blackball isn't explicitly stated. Like, I know I was about to have someone on my show, The Stop, and they said they was down to interview with me, but they backed out and then said something along the lines of, oh, I gotta check the temperature with the JBP. That's not a blackball, right? That is someone preemptively manicuring whatever status they have with someone so they don't lose favor with a podcast. That's not Joe saying, yo, don't sit down with the Stop. This is that person actively trying to protect whatever industry relationships they have. And shout out to that person. I'm kind of over it. I'm not gonna mention that person's name just because I hate when people dangle a carrot. It's kind of weird. But check that temperature somewhere else, buddy. So now I just bring that story up to say that a lot of times the way a blackball takes place is not with people saying, hey, don't have Rory on R&B Money. It's maybe Tank just like, man, I ain't really cool with Rory like that. So Joe Budden's my mans. He was the guy that played a lot of music. I did a lot of features with him, and his pod is bigger. So I'm not even going to bother having Rory on my podcast to promote his album. And there's another factor to it. Rory's album isn't really traditional R&B. That's right. I honestly think the Tank would probably never play Rory's album. It has dance on it. It's not the traditional pretty wings type R&B. So let me know what you think about this. This was a space a few months ago, actually this end of December 2023, and Joe was trying to clear the air. He was looking for Rory in the spaces. He wanted to confront Rory in the spaces, but Rory wasn't trying to talk to Joe because he knew that maybe Joe would get in his creator bag and lay narratives. So I'm going to be breaking down these spaces for a long time because I have it, and I think they say a lot about the end of the Rory and Maul era with the Joe Budden podcast, and I'm just going to keep it going. I know a lot of people this is old, but nah, it's not really that old. It's less than a year old, and it's stuff a lot of people haven't heard before, so it's brand new to many folks. Alright, y'all, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Make sure you tap in with me on Joe Budden Network, the Reddit. We're almost at 20,000. Oh my God, 20,000 subs is in the scope.
All right, y'all. This is Danny from the Stop. Peace.